Good morning, it's old Buzzard with you again. I thought maybe it was time to make another video. This time it's going to be about windshields and installing the Ryfab windshield for the Can-Am Maverick Trail in particular. But I also wanted to take a minute to talk about plastic windshields. I've had the Can-Am hard coat plastic in my my Maverick Trail now for almost 5,000 miles, about a year and a half, year and 3/4. There is nothing wrong with a hard coat windshield as long as you realize exactly what you got and how to take care of it. So I've been looking for a vented windshield for a long time. I put a small vent in my plastic windshield here a little while ago, and it doesn't do quite as well as what I'd like. And then I saw Jim and Diana Wood's Maverick Trail that they've done a wonderful job putting together. It's spiffy. Lots of gizmos and nice things on their Maverick Trail. And I kind of fell in love with the Ryfab. A lot of people had talked about Ryfab before, but I really don't like to buy anything unless I can see it first. So in any case, I just wanted to make the comment that for the hard coat plastic, I've got two very small scratches in mine that you can't even see unless you're looking for it. And that's over, like I say, about a year and 3/4 and 5,000 miles. The trick to keeping those for a long time is just don't rub any mud into it, anything coarse or abrasive. You clean them with water, you run as much off you can that way. But if you clean it in such a fashion that you can feel if you're rubbing any grit into it at all. And for instance, for me, I'll pour water on the windshield and I'll kind of scoop with my hand at the same time to get the mud off of it. And you definitely don't want to rub any grit into it. So as long as you treat a hard coat plastic with respect, it's going to last 4 or 5 years. Now when I bought mine, there weren't any other options. I had one of the very first Can-Am Maverick Trails in the area where I live right here. It was October of 2018, I guess it was, that I got it. And it's held up real well, but I like this Ryfab. I just wanted to make the comment that there's nothing wrong with plastic. I've had a lot of people give me guff and grief over it, and they're wrong. If you take good care of it, it will last a long time and it's durable. You just don't abuse it. So that's how I wanted to start the video, giving that little speech. But I will, I'll start the installation process here shortly. Okay, so this is my current windshield. Obviously, it's got to come out first. I do have the Wildcat vent put in it. It's a pretty nifty little vent. It pops open that far, and you do get some airflow through it. If you're going anything above 5 miles an hour, you can feel it. But I'd like to have a little more than that. The bottom of the Ryfab windshield, the whole bottom of it flips up and is a vent, and I'm sure you get real good airflow through it. But in any case, I've had some people ask me how easy is it to take this plastic windshield out. So I thought maybe I'd show you. Let me take my little camera holder out. A lot of people have commented about the suction cup holders too for not camera, I'm sorry, but that's for my GPS. I've banged the heck out of this thing on the trail, and this suction cup has never failed me. So the naysayers about suction cup stuff, don't believe them. It's rugged. But to get the Can-Am windshield off, there's a couple little tabs right here. So you just flip those tabs down. There's one, and then there's latches right here that you open up too. And it's easier. You can get it out without doing this, but it's easier if you take that off. And always account for your little tabs, the spring clips in here. I lose so darn many of those. Looks like they all stayed this time. So if you pull that out, and then let's see, one more tab here to turn down. Flip that out, flip that out. She should be all loose now. And up and down. And now I gotta go find a safe place to put it, because that's still a good windshield. I think I'm going to try and sell it, because that Ryfab will probably never have to come out again. But in any case, that's how you pull the original windshield out. I'm going to clean everything up really well around the perimeter before I put the Ryfab in. But that's how the Can-Am plastic comes out. Okay, it's way too hot to work outside, so I hope there's enough light inside to get a good video of this, but I'm going to pull it back inside. There we go. See, I meant literally pull it inside. They roll real easy when they're in neutral. Next step will be to clean all the channels and whatnot. I think I'll close that door behind it, and then we'll get a little better video, I'm sure. Okay, so we'll clean up the channels around the windshield. That's pretty important because there's going to be plastic seals, or rubber seals rather, around all the channels. I expect this Ryfab is going to be a lot quieter than the plastic windshield too. I know when I've been shooting my movies with the plastic in, I can hear it rattle in the movie. I generally don't pay any attention to that while I'm driving. I don't hear it, but I sure hear it in the movies. But yeah, we'll clean all this up real well. I may, yeah, I'll probably lift up. Yeah, there's quite a bit of dirt in there. I'll probably lift the front of the windshield up too. And of course it looks like I'll have to pull the Can-Am. Yeah, I know I will. I'll have to shave that off with a razor. Can-Am has some rubber seals down here that will need to be pulled off. But we'll get this all cleaned up. Then I'll probably go over it with some alcohol so that I know nothing's there to stick. But yeah, so just normal cleanup. You don't need to watch that. Okay, I got all the glue off of the tape down here, the foam tape that Can-Am uses for a seal. Had to use some Goo Gone on it to get it nice and clean and smooth, but that's good. Now these are the seismic mirrors, and they use the ProFit clamps. I'm really hoping that the new windshield doesn't interfere with them. If the windshield just has a 1/16 of an inch on both sides of clearance, I'll be able to get these clamps back in. But I'm going to take them out just to make sure, you know, and give me a little extra room to work. I really stand up for the seismic products. I've had a couple of times where, well, initially this part down here was made out of kind of an inferior plastic, and that cracked all out. And they had new ones to me within just a couple of days and told me that that the original plastic that they had picked wasn't up to the task. But they don't even ask any questions. Let's see, yep, everything's going fine. They don't even ask any questions. They just put them in first class mail. You get them a couple days later. I've also knocked a couple of these top caps off going through the brush. And I call them and say, hey, would you mind throwing a couple in the mail for me? And they do it right away. So let's see, what do we got going on here? A little more on this bottom one, I think. There. You can see it. It's a clamp that clamps real nicely right into the channel on the windshield. And of course I'm going to stand here and drop things. Yeah, well, I'll clean those up. Oh, God, I'm an old man. That's why they call me the old Buzzard. But I'll clean those up, put some Never-Sees on them. Then the other thing I want to do, I want to lift up the top here. Now I have modified my top with a piece of it's a 1/2 inch wide steel strap that runs all the way across, and I've got it both screwed in, bonded. I don't know if that's going to interfere with the Ryfab design or not. It did not interfere with the Can-Am design. So let's see, which size is that? See, when I do these videos, I'll go ahead and show you where I goof up. I goof up plenty. I don't try and hide that. And if you notice me chewing gum, I'm sorry. I'm in the process of quitting nicotine products, and I'm chewing some nicotine gum right now. I'll try not to have my lips flapping with it, because that's something I don't like to see, is people just smacking away on gum. I tell you what, nicotine addiction's not a fun thing to try and break. I had quit for about 20 years, and I celebrated something a year ago. Started smoking cigars, and just after one cigar, I was addicted. So anyway, that side's off. I'll get the other side off, lift it up, and clean those off. But you don't need to watch me do the other mirror or the other side of the roof. Okay, for the roof, I kind of forgot, there's not just the 2 bolts on the sides, but there's a bracket in the middle with 3, well, that light's bright, with 3 star drive bolts in it. Star drive or Torx or whatever you prefer to call them. Yeah, 2 of them, not 3. So we'll get those out. Talking about plastic versus glass, and one thing people have to realize is, I think I see the plastic windshields. You can find those for about $300 for the hard coat. There we go. $300 for the hard coat, but the glass windshields run around $600 or more, and that $300 difference can make a big difference to a lot of people. You know, if you're a high incomer or got a lot of savings or something like that, maybe that $300 doesn't mean too much to you. But $300, boy, I remember, well, it still does, but I remember when that was a lot of money. You know, I'd blow my whole wad on something like this and not have money for accessories for a long time. So that's another reason why I don't belittle the glass, or rather the plastic at all, because the $300 difference is a substantial difference. I don't care how much quality. Sometimes you can afford things and sometimes you can't. Okay, so I'll do some cleaning up in here. I don't believe it's really going to touch anything in there, but we'll find out. Okay, I think I've got everything prepped and ready to go. I've got the windshield laid out on my tailgate here in my truck, but there's some new rubber foam strips for sealing things up. The instructions are a little ambiguous in a couple of places, and they're the typical real dark photos in some instances. It's real hard to determine what they're trying to show you. Yeah, maybe they're not so bad, but looking at them last night, they were a little confusing. I was kind of expecting, you know, this is the plate that goes up front, that ties the two. It'll go up here somewhere, and it ties the two rests down, you know, where the windshield lays down, kind of expected that might be a solid piece that I could take and have somebody cut out, you know, a logo or a name or something into that, but that's okay. So anyway, according to the instructions, the first step is going to be to remove the little plastic shroud at the base of the roll bar here. And see, these are brackets for my upper doors. I don't know if they'll have to come out or not. We're going to see here shortly. Okay, let's see if we can get those little plastic shrouds out of there. I've kind of worn out my, was it a T25? T27. Kind of worn out a couple of my bits on these things. This is about all I've got left. It's a booger to get in there. So instead of using a ratchet, I'll have to use a little wrench. This little 1/4 inch wrench will fit on these bits. And that way, in limited spaces like this, yeah, I can get a straight turn on it. Oh, come on. I remember they were a booger when I put the uppers on because they're at a funny angle. It's hard to get the right torque on them and not screw up the, come on, not screw up the heads. Okay, it always happens to me. So I'm sitting here working away on getting that little torque screw out right there. And of course it happens to be a nutsert. There's a number of names for those, but in fact you can see the shank of that one down inside the roll bar in there. Okay, turns out that was a colossal waste of time. Not only was this piece relieved right in here, so that bracket and everything doesn't have anything to do with this plastic piece, but when you get that out of there and you look on the other side, let's see if I can get some light down there. That's actually a nut on the other side of it, so it doesn't go into a blind nut or a nutsert like I thought. So anyway, you know, like I say, learn from my mistakes and you'll waste less time. You won't run into this if you don't have these upper window brackets on it. It'll be really straightforward, but don't worry about taking the nuts out of this side. You don't have to do that. There are two, let's see if we can get that. This is hard to take pictures of, but there's two screws down here at the bottom of the roll bar that take that plastic bezel off, and that's pretty much really all you need to do. Those two screws plus that tab on the top that you have to push down on, and that thing will pop right off. So what a waste of time, but that's part of why I do these, so you won't waste your time. And well, that's about it then. I'll continue on. Okay, so a set of brackets goes underneath the roll bar bolts, and I got one broke loose real easy. The second is just a booger. They're both torqued like crazy. I don't have a 1/2 inch set of metrics, and the SAE sizes don't fit it real well. I hate to beat on stuff with the hammer. Thought I brought the bigger one. Well, I don't want to booger up my plastic there. That thing is on there tight. Can't get on it that way, so I have to hit it. Like that. There we go. Now, holy moly. Okay, so I was just pulling those two bolts. I'll bring the camera back when we put the bracket on it. Okay, these are the brackets for the lower portion of the windshield. I've got the nuts off of the roll bar, It looks to me, by looking at the instructions, that those brackets just go right in there like that. Put the nuts back on, torque them back down, and yeah, they don't interfere with anything, so it's all good. Do the same thing on the other side. Actually, the instructions say don't torque anything down at this point. Let's see. Oh man, here we go again. There, the bolt side came out easier than that side does. Usually the nut comes off easier than the bolt side does, because you don't have the friction of the bolt head to deal with. You just have the friction of the nut up against the plate. But that's true for that side too. That came off easier. Okay, so we'll get those off and we'll put that plate on. And a little closer look at the pictures in the instruction manual tell me I've got the brackets on the wrong side. So you want them with the windshield fastener toward the lowest position you can get them in. See if I can get this back off. So this is the lowest position you can get. And I'll go over and put the other one back where it belongs. So there's a little correction for us. Okay, here's the first place. I think the instructions are a little flaky. It says take the two 6-inch large rubber seals. Not what does it say? Not seals, but that's what it's talking about. Rubber strips. Take the two 6-inch large rubber strips and apply to the radius of the top of the roll cage. But there are not two 6-inch pieces of rubber strip in the kit. So I called them this morning. They said, oh yeah, just use the excess from when you seal up the rest of it. The excess, if you're going to do it in the order that it talks about, then you got to cut a couple of 6-inch strips off. So that's what I did. I think that's a little bit of a flaky instruction because the 6-inch strips are not included. But I'm going to clean the channel with a little bit of alcohol just to make sure there's no wax or anything left on it. And then we'll put those strips up here, because the very next step is going to be to put that, they call it a radius piece, but it's basically like the visor or whatever you want to call it. You'll see it here in just a second. But let's clean this up real good so that those strips stick. And that alcohol only takes a second to evaporate. So let's hope this is right. We'll peel that off. Here it comes. And I can only see one way that this can really go. And that is up there. And follow that right along. Press it in. That has to be what they mean. The picture that shows them doing this is not the best picture in the world. Real hard to get a grip on exactly what they're doing, but this is the only thing that makes sense. So we'll do it. Darn, these things are hard to peel off. Come on, you booger. Always while I'm filming. There we go. There's, peel that one off. Now we'll go over here on the other side. All the way up to the top. And holding it in as far as I can get it. Yep. Press it down. Okay. Now this other, I'm going to go get it. See, I'll have to read the instructions a little before I really do this. And then I had to fiddle yesterday to understand things. I kind of put that clamp on it already, and I'm sure the clamp's not supposed to be on it yet. But I'm betting. Yeah, will it go that way or the other way? See, I gotta go look at the instructions. I'll return. I'll be back. Okay. Now, this plate here, in fact, let me get this apart. And we'll set the... Excuse me. It must be a summertime allergy. So now, sorry to waste your time here. Now, this goes up here. There's little holes. There's a tab right here with a bolt hole through it, and they show these bolts going up through it with a washer on it, of course. But now these go. Come on. Aha! So you got to leave these tabs down. Better be right. So up there, in there. Well, this would be a lot better with two people, I think. And, whoop, I forgot to put the washer on it. Washer and bolt up through there. There, I can feel threads on top of it. They're you know, can't think of the right words when I want to, but there's a washer built onto that bolt. There's a flange bolt, that's what it is. So we'll get that flange bolt started there. Come on. Okay, that bolt started. We'll go to the other side. See, washer on the bolt. And basically it's tightened nothing down at this point because there'll be some alignment to do. So yeah, it looks like there'll still be room for my mirrors if the width of this is an indication of the width of the windshield. So, well, we'll look at the next instruction. Okay, now it's the it's these roof brackets. So they go right there, and that's what I'm hoping does not interfere. Yeah, let's see. Let's get myself ready before we get going here. That's what I hope doesn't interfere with the closing of my upper doors. So put that down through there. Okay, that side started. Now what? We'll go back and look at the instructions. I think the next thing is to actually set the windshield inside. Okay, now they want me to take this foam D-shaped seal and use the smaller of the two sizes, and they want me to go all the way around the windshield bracket on the inside, obviously. Anyway, so that's what we'll do. We'll clean the bracket up with a little bit of alcohol just to make sure we get good stiction. You know, a good body and fender guy wouldn't be afraid of this at all. So let's see if we can do this as perfectly as we can. That's pretty darn straight. Yeah, I see I might have been over that way a little farther, but I think we'll get a good seal. And we'll trim it off over here. Yep. And then we'll go this way with it. Pitter patter her little feet. Where is she?
Right here.
Oh, I knew somebody was coming out. We're making progress.
Good.
Okay, now you use the larger of the D foam, and you follow the very bottom edge. I've turned the window around on you, but you follow the very bottom edge, and you want to do the hinge part first. And they show it going around these sharp corners. How in the heck are you going to do that without things pinching real bad? I may cut a little notch into it so it doesn't pinch. But, of course, the way the factory does it always looks perfect. Most of the time I'm too self-critical, and I'll say something doesn't look bad, and somebody will look, or I'll say something does look bad. Somebody else will look at it and say, "What the heck are you talking about, Dan?" So hope not to be too self-critical this time, but we'll do our best to get this right on the edge. That looks pretty good. Yeah, and they came down, but that puts a little knot there, so I'm going to take and snip a little notch out of it. Ah, good job, Dan. Now I got to do the opposite to go back up. So it says follow the contours. That's what I'm doing. Nowhere did I cut the foam all the way through, so there's a barrier everywhere. That works. Then there's just enough left to come down and around that way. Make one more corner here and we got it. Now, the instructions did not say to clip it like this, but if you try to make these turns, you're going to end up with a big wad, and I just don't want that. So, yeah, it ends up matching just perfect. So when you cut your 6-inch strips off to do underneath the top plate over there, it looked like 6 inches. It should have been 5.5 inches. That would have left you an extra inch here. So anyway, there we go. I believe the next thing is to set the windshield up there. Okay, I set the windshield in. It's a lot of work when it's 90 degrees outside and not a lot of ventilation in the shop here. It's a lot of work. One thing that I found, the foam that I put, that D-shaped foam, you don't need to put it down here. In fact, it'll interfere with the bracket. So don't worry about putting foam from here down. That foam only goes across. Yeah, let's see if we can find it. Let's see. Is the vent open? Oh, the vent opens. So there's the foam. I've got my fingers on the foam right now. Foam goes there, and then the foam can come along here and up, but cut it off where it's going to be on the bracket right here. That's the bracket that holds it in. So that all looks good. And inside, Let's see, I've got that rag stuffed in there so I don't drop any nuts down the hole. But inside there's what it looks like. Yeah, I can't get the light good. But there's your vent right there. I don't have anything torqued down right now because the next thing to do is to go adjust everything. I was a little worried it might interfere with opening the dash or opening the storage here, but I can still get the storage open, so that works. So yeah, the next thing now is just to go and get it all lined up right. So I hope I got enough on the video that it's helpful for somebody. To be honest with you, I'm getting real frustrated. Not so much because it's hard or anything, but I think I mentioned a little earlier that I'm only about 5 days off of nicotine. Yeah, that kind of gives me a short fuse. So I'm doing the best I can, guys. Okay, so I've set it in. I've kind of looked to make sure everything's aligned and it's real square. So you set it in. You put these four carriage bolts in through the brackets. I think the best thing I can do is just show you everything. Make sure that the vent opens. Make sure the vent opens without touching anything. If it touches, you have to slide it up a bit. But I've got pretty good clearance. It looks to me, yeah, it looks, well, I'm standing right in the light. It looks to me like it's a little tight right here and a little loose there. So I've tried to pry the whole windshield over that direction. In fact, I put my mirrors back on. They're higher than what I usually have them, but I just wanted to make sure they'd fit, and that helps center the windshield too. So everything's centered real well. There's maybe a 1/8 of an inch difference where I wish it was, actually that's probably the way I've got this plastic panel on, and it's not the fault of the windshield. So yeah, because it has a little bit of leeway left to right. Didn't think about that. I don't have the roof down yet. I don't have anything tightened up. I'm just going through it, making sure that everything is about where it belongs before I snug it up. I guess I should get a light on that. So yeah, I thought maybe initially that there's just no place to hang this lamp where it wants to stay and show you. So initially I thought maybe there'd be a problem with the glove box opening, and it doesn't open quite as far as it used to because of that tab, but it's still good enough to get everything in and out that I need. So I think it's time to start snugging everything down again. So that's going to be what I do next. It's what the instructions call for. At this point, I got pretty upset looking at where the plastic trim bezels go on the bottom of the roll bar. Nowhere in the instructions does it mention putting them back on. In fact, they won't fit without modifying those bezels. I had called the company the day before, leaving a message asking if they intended to have those bezels put back on, and they did not return my call with regard to that issue. So I decided at that point to go ahead and see if I could get them in. It required me taking the windshield halfway back out and to do some trimming on those bezels. I did get them in. Everything looks really trim and finished now. That was my biggest disappointment in this windshield, was that according to the instructions you leave those things out and it looks like hell. But we figured it out in the end, and I got it all put back together. It looks sharp, and I'm happy with the product. I'm happy with the way the installation came out. But that's a tip for you. Don't put the windshield back in, or don't put the windshield in until you figure out how those bezels will go back. Again, you have to do a little bit of hacksawing and trimming with an X-Acto knife in order to relieve them, get some plastic cut off of them because of the bracketry for the windshield. Anyway, that had me upset enough. I quit filming at that point, and it was just so hot, and I mentioned my other problems, but it all came out good, and I'm happy. So I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to comments, and I'll have another one for you in just a couple of days, a different topic. Bye-bye.